Marvel's not just full of superhumans. We also have psychic dogs, eldritch monster cats, and flying bat demons. So today, we're breaking down every weird, dangerous, and surprisingly important animal in Marvel, from the strangest to the strongest. Cosmo the Space Dog. So, Cosmo is actually one of the oldest Earth origin characters currently in the MCU. Before she was head of security for Nowhere, she was literally just a Soviet test dog. But now, she's an astronaut, a master of telekinesis, and a super genius with enhanced intelligence. Sent into outer space by the Soviet Union, Cosmo ended up on Nowhere, where she would be kept in a museum by the Collector. Here, she just sits as a showpiece, which is, to be honest, a waste of her talents.
Fauna, relics, and species of all manner.
Luckily, she was freed when the museum was completely leveled, after which she joined the Guardians of the Galaxy. But while she can walk and talk in a Russian accent,
To ruin Christmas again.
she's also one of the Guardians' best combatants. Thanks to the experiments that were conducted on her, she has enhanced durability, intelligence, an increased lifespan, and the ability to move anything and everything with her mind. And I really do mean everything. That's something most human telekinetics wouldn't be able to pull off. Besides that, she can lift groups of people up at once, or even use the environment around her to devastating effect. Ouch! She didn't always start out being in control of her abilities, though. It took a lot of work, but she's now a lethal threat even with something as tiny as a pebble. Cosmo's one of the most refreshing additions to the team, because not only does she bring a much-needed power set, she's also just great company, as long as you don't call her a bad dog.
I can't take it back if she is, in fact, a bad dog.
It never stops hurting.
Fenris. Speaking of lovable dogs that are good in a fight, we have Fenris. Although less dog and more man-eating giant wolf, Fenris is one of the strongest animals we've ever seen in the MCU. He was Hela's own steed throughout her conquests of the Nine Realms, and this was during the era when the Nine Realms were full of fierce opposition. On top of the fact that he's genuinely massive, Fenris has a lot of war experience under his belt, which makes him a capable warrior. Plus, his strength is seriously insane. There are very few things in the MCU that can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk for even a couple of seconds, let alone actually draw blood from the Gamma Giant. Even Tony Stark's Hulkbuster armor wasn't able to do that, despite trying his hardest. Fenris is a legend in Norse mythology, so it only makes sense that his MCU variant is just as epic. He even had Heimdall looking scared. It's honestly a shame that after his fight with the Hulk, Fenris fell into space, or so we think. Here's to hoping this puppy makes a comeback someday. Rocket Raccoon. This funny little raccoon has a much deeper story to him than most people realize. Rocket starts off as a genetically and cybernetically modified raccoon who was experimented on by the High Evolutionary. As shown in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, he was taken as a baby and subjected to invasive procedures that enhanced his brain far beyond natural limits. These experiments gave him an intellect that allows him to intuitively understand engineering, mechanics, and advanced physics in a way that even trained scientists struggle to match. Rocket is capable of building complex weapons, starship components, explosives, and defensive systems out of scrap parts in minutes. Rocket's no slouch in a fight, either.
Oh, yeah.
He's a little guy, but he's extremely dangerous because of his size, which allows him to move unpredictably in battle. What he lacks in muscle, he more than makes up for with firepower, a high battle IQ, and some really nifty traps. Those experiments didn't just give him incredible brains, they gave him an instinct for technology, which has saved the Guardians' lives on more than one occasion. They also gave him a natural knack for sarcasm.
I'm muscular.
But who are you kidding, Quill? You're one sandwich away from fat.
All in all, he steals the show in almost every scene he's in. Throughout his time with the Guardians, he's matured and changed a lot, but he's also gotten noticeably worse, too.
You're making me beat up grass!
Goose! One look at Goose, and you wouldn't suspect this is an alien with multidimensional organs at all. But that's exactly what Flerkens are.
And what's your name, huh? What's your name? Goose. Cool name for a cool cat.
Fury.
Goose, a Flerken that ended up on Earth and in the care of S.H.I.E.L.D., was first introduced to us in Captain Marvel. While she may move and look like an adorable house cat, she's actually a very special alien. Goose possesses a pocket dimension inside her body, which she can access through a series of, I think it's best if you just see for yourself. Almost nobody ever suspects it being an alien either, except for this little scene.
The cat? This isn't what you're afraid of, is it?
That's not a cat. That's a Flerken. A Flerken?
Mom?
Inside Goose's body is a whole new world, and I mean that very literally. It's capable of storing things like the Tesseract, which itself was a container for an Infinity Stone, without any noticeable effect. By the way, it took Thanos, the Hulk, and Tony Stark's specialized gauntlets just to be able to hold and use those stones. It can also do a lot more than just store things. You could be an entire squad of trained soldiers with military-grade equipment, and unfortunately, it just doesn't matter. I get Fury's face in this scene. It was shocking for me too on my first watch. There's no real indicator of just how much Goose can store inside it or what the biggest thing it can eat is, but so far, nothing seems to be out of the realm of possibility for this Flerken. Besides the fact that it can do all of the above, for all intents and purposes, it really is just a cat. Just an incredibly lethal, magical cat. Lockjaw. And it's not just cats. We have magic space dogs too, and the best example is Lockjaw, the royal pet of the Inhumans. While Goose's powers are transporting things she consumes into a pocket dimension, Lockjaw's are the opposite. This puppy can transport itself and others through vast distances across space, with speeds that even make the sling rings look slow. The Inhumans use this power to hop back and forth between the city of Attilan on the moon and Earth. There's no magic or science behind his powers either. He can just do it as long as he has something to lock onto. It's a lot like Goku's instant transmission, actually. This makes Lockjaw one of the best teleporters in the entire franchise, even outclassing systems like the Bifrost. It takes nothing for him to do it, and all he needs is to be familiar with the place he's going to. He has a lot of functions besides that too. He's perfect for sneaking into enemy territory, mass evacuations, or escaping from dangerous situations. Plus, he's trained to respond to any verbal instruction you give him, although he's particularly close with Crystal.
Then come right back.
Crystal! No! No, not me!
The only requirement is that you need to be touching him, but only one person needs to. The rest can just touch the person who is in contact with Lockjaw. You'd think a dog like that wouldn't be afraid of anything. But, to be fair, who wouldn't get overwhelmed by midday traffic? Theoretically, you could use Lockjaw in really lethal ways. For example, technically, you could just teleport your enemy above an active volcano, then teleport back immediately, or send them thousands of feet beneath the ocean, or strand them on the moon, in the vacuum of space. The possibilities are endless when you can quite literally go anywhere. Alligator Loki. Loki, the god of mischief, takes many, many forms. And one of those happens to be an alligator. Appearing in the Loki series as one of his many variants, Alligator Loki was pruned and sent to the Void, a temporal wasteland at the end of time where discarded timelines and individuals are dumped. Unlike the other variants, though, he's a bit more aggressive. Actually, a lot more aggressive. Surprisingly enough, classic Loki seems to be able to make out whatever it is he says.
Oh, there's no such thing as an alligator tag. Besides, it's a better metaphor. He's overly sensitive like the rest of us.
Hang on. You're telling me that thing's a Loki too?
Oh, yes.
We aren't sure exactly why he's been pruned, except that he ate the wrong neighbor's cat. He doesn't seem to have any of Loki's other powers, though. No magic, illusions, or time slipping, just sharp teeth, a fragile ego, and a tendency to bite people. Soul suckers. They're pretty much what they sound like. Demonic, dark, flying bat things that suck your soul. These are technically interdimensional beings, and don't really belong to Talo or Earth. These things have been sealed away behind the dark gate alongside their master, the Dweller in Darkness, for thousands of years. They can't be hurt by conventional means. If you try, they just end up regenerating instantly, as if nothing ever touched them. The only way to put one of these down for good is to use special weaponry made of dragon scales. And what do they do with these souls? Feed them to thee. Their entire goal is to fatten him up and essentially act as a constant buff. The more souls this thing gets, the tougher it is. I'd put it in this list too, but it seems less animal and more ancient mythical deity. Besides that, they don't have a lot going for them. Soul suckers act as mindless beasts that are hyper-fixated on their goal, although a group of them is a threat even for incredibly durable things like the Great Protector, Killin, half horse, half dragon. The Killin seem to be protectors of Talo, although very little is known about them. What we do know is that they're incredibly ancient, probably some of the oldest beings in the MCU. We also know that using its fish scales, it can swim, and using its feathers, it can fly, so these things get around pretty easily. Honestly, Talo itself is an incredibly strange land, full of all kinds of weird things. They probably have some kind of mystical power, but they seem content to just lazily walk around Talo. To be fair, it is ridiculously beautiful, the kind of place that makes you just want to relax. Nine-tailed fox. The legendary nine-tailed fox isn't just one single massive red fox. In the MCU, they're these gentle, white-colored foxes that gradually grow their tails throughout their lifespan. The baby fox we see has 3 tails, so they probably get to the full 9 by adulthood, like the elder one we see alongside it. We honestly don't know if they're big on fighting, but Ying Li does claim that they're both powerful and intelligent. Dijiangs. Last but not least, we have these little blind guys. Ever wonder what species Morris belongs to? This is the one. As cute as they look and sound, they're actually very smart creatures. They can fly, understand English, and even communicate back, though it seems like Trevor is the only one who can understand Morris. Morris is also an incredibly old creature because he had known Shang-Chi's mom ever since Shang-Chi was just a little boy. And to be honest, he's probably been around for a lot longer than that. Shi-shi. These massive lions are some of the most visually distinct mystical creatures living in Talo. They're actually based on real Chinese mythology, in which they're usually known as powerful protectors of sacred spaces, which pretty much lines up with their role as the guardians of Talo. Typically, you'll catch them chilling around, but when it's time to fight, they're some of the most vicious creatures in all of the land. Also, notice how they just work together with the villagers flawlessly? That combo jump attack was sick. They're also really, really jacked. The Shi-shi we see in the film have heavy muscles, stone-like manes, and giant tusks that stand out immediately. Despite their role as warriors, they're also pretty domesticated. You see them living pretty comfortably alongside the residents of Talo. They even get them ready for the attack on the village, so it's not like they're isolated beings. Phoenix birds? I've been wanting to see a phoenix in the MCU ever since we didn't see Jean Grey manifest her powers as one. But the closest we get is these things.
Bloody hell. I think those birds are on fire.
Just like every other mythical being in Talo, there's a lot more of them than we see. And yes, they're literally always on fire. Great Protector. Here, we finally have one of the MCU's first takes on an Eastern dragon. The Great Protector is the primary guardian deity of Talo, and it's easily up there in terms of power. Unlike the rest of the animals that just sort of exist throughout Talo, the Great Protector is for protecting. Seriously though, it exists specifically to defend the realm from the Dweller in Darkness and the Soul Suckers that are locked behind the Dark Gate. It fought once before to protect Talo, after which it gave the people dragon scales, which are the material they use to form their spears, armor, and arrows. This dragon is one of the most bizarre things we've seen. It flies pretty fast, but it has no wings. It can live underwater, although it's not a sea creature. It also doesn't really need to eat or sleep. Speaking of the sea, it can control water pretty easily too, and even fight with it. Interestingly enough, it's not immune to the powers of the Dweller in Darkness. It can still have its soul sucked out, and it almost did too. Still, there's no other thing that can go toe-to-toe with the Dweller, and ultimately, the Protector was instrumental in taking it down for good. I've always wondered how it would do in a one-on-one against the dragon we see in Muspelheim. Do you guys think it would lose because of the size difference and fire breath, or would it win? Sleipnir? Well, it's a horse, but not just any horse. Sleipnir is Odin's personal battle mount and a figure of legend in Asgard. It has 8 legs, golden armor, and it's pretty oversized as far as horses go. It's probably up there with Fenrir and the Great Protector in terms of strength, because almost everything in Odin's arsenal is usually either ancient or extremely powerful, but we never see it fight. Ant-Man's ants. One of the most underrated forces in the MCU is Scott Lang's Army of Ants. Introduced in Ant-Man 2015, these are real Earth ants that Scott is able to communicate with and command, using the cybernetic helmet developed by Hank Pym. The helmet translates Scott's neural signals into electrical impulses that ants can understand, essentially allowing him to coordinate entire colonies as if they were his own personal military. Throughout the Ant-Man films, Scott uses multiple species of ants for different tactical purposes. Carpenter ants are typically used for heavy lifting and structural support due to their strength. Bullet ants are deployed for offensive situations because of their aggressive behavior and powerful sting, which is apparently number 1 on the Schmidt Pain Index.
Hey guys, remember me from the bedroom?
Crazy ants can conduct electricity and even disable enemy electronics through it, which is a pretty handy ability. Scott's ants are half his power set, and without them, shrinking and turning giant is great on its own, but it's the versatile support of the ants that truly makes him, well, Ant-Man. Also, just an awful enemy to deal with. Imagine fighting a guy that can shrink and set loose like 24 electric ants on you. Wakandan war rhinos. I promise you, they're so much cooler than they sound. The Wakandan war rhinos are introduced in Black Panther 2018 as part of the Border Tribe's military forces. Just like the Shi-shi in Talo, they're part of the overall defense of Wakanda and are even bred and trained specifically for combat. That doesn't mean they're treated badly. In fact, the rhinos get a lot of love. Outfitted with vibranium-reinforced armor, these rhinos function as living cavalry units. Typically, you see Wakandan warriors riding them into battle, using them to break enemy formations through sheer momentum and durability. During the final conflict between T'Challa's loyalists and Killmonger's supporters, W'Kabi leads a mounted charge using the war rhinos against the Dora Milaje and other Wakandan fighters. They're not just mindless war beasts, though. They have a proper bond with the people of Wakanda. Most animals wouldn't stop charging at you on a good day, let alone in the middle of a full-on battle. It's another example of Wakanda mixing technology with conventional means of war to make something that's stupidly useful, incredibly cool, and sustainable all at the same time. Also, a hit from these guys really hurts. Pretty sure that armor can stop bullets. Rocket's companions. We're not ending the list with some mythical animal or science experiment, but instead, with one of the most heartbreaking stories in the MCU. To understand Rocket, you have to understand what happened to his friends. Teefs, Lila, and Floor, they were just like him, part of the High Evolutionary's sick experiments in order to produce smarter, more evolved beings. They were known as Batch 89, and they all went through cybernetic enhancements. In the case of Teefs and Floor, they were given prosthetics to replace their missing limbs. They all grew up alongside Rocket and shared a dream of flying together after escaping. Just like Rocket, they can think and feel as deeply as any human, if not more so. But their life was taken from them before they could experience the world at all. Rocket spent most of his early life in captivity, with his only source of comfort being the connections he had with the 3 of them. They really just wanted to be free and explore the world. But as soon as they got the chance to, they were brutally put down, something that shaped Rocket's character throughout his on-screen presence. Because he never really just wanted to escape. He wanted to take them with him. First, they shot Lila. And then, despite Rocket taking down the attackers, they killed Teefs and Floor, traumatizing Rocket, making him afraid of connecting with people. While the loss of the three of them will always stay with Rocket, he eventually does manage to find friends he can trust and care for again. What happened with Teefs, Lila, and Floor is one of the darkest storylines in the MCU, and a reminder that all kinds of things happen in the multiverse. Mythical horses, Asgardian alligators, cats with tentacles, and oversized bulldogs. Marvel has no shortage of strange animals with even stranger powers. Who's your favorite out of all these? Do you think we missed any? If so, let us know in the comments below, and we'll cover them in the next one.